Greetings, customizers. Welcome to the next adventure at Talking Hands Customs. To all my subscribers, thank you very much. And if you're joining us for the first time, welcome to the channel. We're going to be doing some mail away exclusives. What does that mean? Well, it's real simple. We are going to take a regular G.I. Joe vehicle and paint it in the colors of one of the mail away exclusives. If you're not aware, there were several vehicles and figures that were made available through mail away purchases, in which case you would use flag points and or a check and mail it to Hasbro and they would send you one of these vehicles. This example is the mail away Vamp Mark II. If you've never seen one before, it's actually really cool, and I prefer it to the retail release of the Vamp Mark II. And it's actually an amalgam of the Vamp Mark I, the Vamp Mark II, with some unique to mail away exclusive canvas parts. So let's go over it real quick. It's got the Vamp Mark I hull, so you can see there it's got the machine gun in the hood, but it's got the Vamp Mark II lights on the bumper bar here. It has the Vamp Mark I gas cans in a basket, the Mark II launcher, and then the pattern on the canvas here is actually different than the Vamp Mark II. This roof here, excuse me, is from an original Vamp Mark II, so this is technically incomplete. But the pattern on the mail away stuff looks more like a screen door pattern, whereas the stuff on the regular Vamp Mark II is more like a metal grating sort of pattern to it. And that's all there is to it. It's done in this lovely tan color, and I'm going to show you what it looks like next to a retail Mark II, so you can see the differences firsthand. So the notable one is that this is a much lighter, much yellower tan, whereas this is a very light brown. On the retail release, the hubcaps were white, and the gas cans were plug-ins to the back, not sit-in in a basket. And of course, you've got the Stinger style hull, which has the molded-in shovel and the removable tarp on the front. But there you go. So that's the retail and the mail-away side by side, and I love the color on the mail-away much more than I do the other Vamp Mark II, the retail release. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, what if Hasbro released a mail-away version of the Vamp Mark I? And the beautiful elegance of this idea is that it's a straight-up recolor, and these vehicles usually came with the same stickers as the retail release version. So all you got to do in this case is buy a set of Vamp Mark I stickers and repaint it in this color, and then put the stickers on, and you're done. And that's all there is to it. Could you do some modification to that idea? Of course you can. You could make your own version with the Mark I body and the Mark II launcher and no canvas, or a Mark I complete with canvas. The variants are, really limited by your imagination and what you can make fit. But in this case, I'm going to do a straight up Vamp Mark II, or excuse me, Mark I. Wow. So there's so many variants anyway, I'm getting lost. But with the caveat that I got a set of Vamp Mark II canvas for this, that I might just put it on there anyway, just to see what it looks like. But I'm going to save that for the future. Right now, the idea is a Vamp Mark I in mail-away tan colors. If you're doing other vehicles, keep in mind that they weren't all done in the tan color. The mail-away Ferret was a lighter blue than the original Ferret. The mail-away Firebat was a lighter red than the original Firebat, etc., etc. So you could actually make it any color you want and call it a mail-away if you wanted to. But in this case, I love that tan color, and I think it would look fantastic on a Mark I. And like with every idea we have with customs, once you think of one idea to do in that color scheme, you want to do more. So this is going to be a multi-vehicle reveal, and then I'm also going to be doing a Skyhawk in that same tan color with original Skyhawk stickers as well. With this particular Vamp, it is well loved, well played with, and it was lovingly repaired by a parent sometime back in the magical days of the 80s. Unfortunately, the glue that they used oozed out a lot of places because it suffered heavy damage, and they just basically glued and slapped it in there. So I had to clean a lot of that off, and I'm still doing that now, but you can see some of the residue here. This lighter material here is the remaining glue I have to scrape off. The good news is that whatever type of glue it was, if it was hot glue or whatever, comes off really easily, whether either by picking at it or by using a knife to scrape it off, sandpaper, the usual tools that we have for our basic repairs. Speaking of basic repairs, this dashboard breaking off is actually my fault. It was broken off earlier, but just broken off at the attachment point to the trunk, or excuse me, the hood. So you can see there that there was a break there from before, but then when I tried to remove the dashboard for painting purposes, it actually snapped the whole thing off right at the support pillar. So now the challenge for this particular custom is that I have to repair this, hide the seams, and try and not get any paint on here. I may employ the trick that if I match a color that's close enough to this, that it'll fool the eye based off of the angle it's on. We'll see what happens there. The other classic repair for a lot of vamp hulls, if you didn't see the Night Force Minimalist Repaint vamp video, is that the edges of the fender here have broken off. So I'll have to use some sheet styrene to put that on and then try and match that color as best I can. The trick I used last time was that I got the color really close, so I just repainted the whole front bumper, and you can't even tell because of the distance and the angle of the other parts around it. So it's a trick of the eye. It's one of the tools you can use as a customizer, and it's, you know, it is what it is. So I'm going to do those repairs off screen. I have done them on previous projects, like I said, with the Minimalist Vamp, Night Force Vamp, or Stinger, excuse me. But in this case, what I'll do is once they're done, I'll walk you through everything that I did. It's just that it will take such a long time here, and I don't think you want to watch me working on something for like 3 hours. So I'm going to get that done off screen, and we'll get right back to you. All right, here we are done with the repair. So I'll show you real close here. It's still a little bit messy. I still have to finish cleaning it up. But with reattaching the sidebar here, whatever it's called in real life, we'll call it the sidebar. All I did was use some super glue to reattach it in a good alignment there. I tried to ensure that the front crossbar here was in line with the back crossbar. We're making lots of turns up today. Anyway, and then I filled in the gap with putty because the metal head warped when it snapped and broke. So there was no way to get it all realigned again, so I just filled up the gap with putty to produce a smooth join. Now on the fender here, you can see I'm still dialing in the paint color just a little bit. I'm almost there, and I might employ my cheat where I just do the whole bumper, but you can see the black primered version here. This is just sheet styrene of roughly the same thickness as the original bumper. If you look this angle here, you can see that it's still white. So you can see it's still white in the back there, to show I'm not kidding. But there's the fender restored there, and I'm just matching the color up right now. And what I'm doing with that is I'm using Scavin Blight Dinge and Corvus Black. I love the names of these colors. And I'm just mixing them together. And I think I've almost got it. Sheen and everything else notwithstanding, we're almost there. Maybe just a little bit more of the gray. What I find with mixing colors for, well, anything really, but in particular these G.I. Joe vehicles, is that it's always a matter of it's darker than you think or it's lighter than you think. Whatever your brain kind of hones in on and gets you to start painting or mixing. Don't be surprised if you end up going, let's say, lighter or darker than what your brain has told you to start doing. I know that sounds weird, but well, that's better. So what I'm working with here is that if you look at any G.I. Joe vehicle, and these tires are almost an over-exaggerated version of that, is there's going to be some wear and tear, some stress marks, some sun staining and all that stuff. So in this case, and of course some sheen difference as well. You know, the plastic is a semi-gloss or a gloss depending on. But I think on the camera here it shows a great difference. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just do that. And then I'm going to let it sit. And this is how I find some of my color sometimes, is that right now it still seems to be a little light. So now I'm kind of going back and forth over top of the ideal color. A little bit more gray, a little bit more black, a little bit more gray, black, etc. But we might be good to go. In fact, I'm going to do the rest of the bumper because it's only 2 or 3 more strokes like that. And we're going to see when it dries if that's worthy of the name G.I. Joe Dark Gray for Vamps. And then I'll get the back up here. Like there's a bunch of damage to the plastic anyway, and that's usually the case. So that's the choice you have to make as a designer or as a customizer, is that are you going to try and chase that look? I mean, if you were manipulating all your colors, you could recreate almost the exact same damage, if you will, on the part that you just repaired. The question is that what you want to do, and is it worth it? The opposite side of that is the plastic so damaged that you want to repaint the whole thing. In this case, I'm saying no. Is there a problem with doing that? Not really, but like at the end of the day, it's all up to you. Yeah, and that gray's on a little bit of the, it's gone over a little bit more to the gray side. And the problem with Corvus black is it's a bit of a blue-black in there. So we might try one other little trick here. And, well, this sort of thing just happens. And what I'm doing right now is, that gray mixture to me seems a little on the cool side, whereas the gray down here is a very warm gray. And another thing that you can do too is, because you can see the whole hull or the whole chassis here, that gray stands out noticeably because there's such a high volume of the original color. But when I put the hull back on, now it's all hidden. So now there's only this little area here. Does it look so bad? I'd say no. Am I going to try and fight to get it closer? Yep. And that's what I'm doing right now. So I'm switching blacks. Corvus black is a bit of a blue black. And Abaddon black is a bit of a warmer black. So I'm going to see if that kicks me over into the place I want to be as far as the tone of my paint. Yeah, I mean, you could argue, just kind of looking at it, would I want to repaint the wheels? Maybe. And that's a lot of wear and tear. But I think in this case, it might just make it, I think it might be livable. We'll see. Certainly realistic looking weathering on a tire, but who knows, right? Who knows? Either way, here we go. Just getting my brush ready, and I'm going to scoop some out of the tin here, and I'm going to put it into the mixing cup on the opposite side, because then I can bring the colors together by having them forced together. And I'm bringing a little bit of the Abaddon black over and mixing it. Little bits at a time. Remember, black's a strong color, right? So a little goes a long way. We are... And always the thing, right? I'll make all these ooh, ah, and we'll see if it's actually any good. Let's go there. Oh. Initial indicators are good. And of course, it's the other thing that makes it look different too, right? Is that this is paint, whereas this is dyed plastic, so the texture is going to be different. It will draw some attention. In which case, our game has to be strong with the color mixing to try and mitigate that. That is pretty darn good right there. I might even be able to go... I would almost say a titch lighter, so I'm going to leave it for now, just to see what's going on. I like the value there for now. So that was Abaddon Black and Scavin Blight Dinge, which I seem to be using on a lot of my customs. So when I put the shell back on, just loosely, I mean, that looks pretty good right there. Matches the rest of that. Ignoring the tires, right? Right now the tires are drawing a lot of attention and contrast. But right now I'm looking at it compared to the winch up front here, and we might be off to the races for that one. So now I'm going to leave it, and sometimes that's what you have to do, is just let it leave, dry, and cure to see if the way the color finally settles is exactly what you want. It may sound unscientific, but hey, never claimed to be a science channel. So let's carry on with the project. The rest of it's pretty straightforward. One thing I found out in taking apart the Vamp Mark 1 is that these deny you the ability to pop out these engine grates here, whatever you want to call them. Or, I don't know what, yeah. Anyways, these grates here on other vehicles like the Stinger and stuff, they can come out because you can access the clips. But here you'd have to drill through and do that. You drill through these bumps here or whatever, and then push it out. I think that's far too much effort. and not quite honestly worth it. So I'm just going to put some masking tape over top of that. I'll use some paper tape and just mask those off, and we can well, I'll probably mask the dash too, but I don't know, that color I just mixed might actually just let me be a little sloppy and cover this whole thing. But anyways, the rest of this is going to go relatively straightforward, so I'm going to get it painted up and we'll carry on. Okay, we've got all the parts primed up right now, and we're set for painting. Notice I've got most of the wheels masked off, if not all of them, with a little bit of protective tape on the running boards beside, and I'm going to be very careful that I don't spray up here. We've got a concoction for you again, because, well, if the color of the mail away vamp is just not one of those weird mixtures, then it's really not going to be a custom anyway, right? So the mixture I'm trying right now is a mix of light brown by Vallejo Model Air with some moon yellow by Vallejo Game Air with just a smidge of brown sand by Vallejo Model Color. And that seems to be right. It's a little bit light, which should be good. And I'm going to spray it on some of these parts now and give it a whirl and see what happens. And here we are with the finished painted products. I've included the original mail away vamp just to show you comparison. My color is just a little bit off, more on the orange side of things, but I would say that if I maybe mixed the ratio a little bit different, it would be 100% on. And we've got the Skyhawk done as well. So the other thing I did is I sourced another set of weapons for the Vamp Mark 1. It is the original gun, but it was in pretty bad shape off of another vehicle. So I ordered a clean one for the original, and what I did is I repainted the barrel and the slider here to match the original. It was peeling. I don't know if that was a finish that was on the accessory itself, but all I did was I mixed up my usual Abaddon Air Black and Scavin Blight Dinge layer. I mean, it could be the non-air version of this. And then I actually added some Castellan Green as well to make it this color. And I checked in with my resident color expert, and she said that, yeah, it's actually like a brown green, and I was looking at a gray green, but I'm still learning the depths of color manipulation. But as you can see there, it's turned out quite nicely. So now we're on to stickers. So I'm just going to move some of this stuff out of the way here. And as you can see, the elegantly simple effect of having a mail-away colored vehicle. And what I've done is I've set up my laptop just off to the side here with a picture of the Vamp instructions. And the one thing I recommend, excuse me, when working on the Vamp is the fuel cans are a very snug fit in here. There's a little bit of a barrier to push past created by the shape of the bar here and the back of the Jeep. So it's actually a better move to put the cans in to the basket and then put the basket into the Jeep, and I'll show you by doing that right now. So let's get the stickers on the Jeep itself, and I've got a 3D printed steering wheel in there, by the way, from KB 3D Print, so I painted that up in the hull color there, and we're good to go. So I'm loving this thing. I think this looks so cool. But so yeah, for me, I like displaying the handles close together. Just keep in mind that the fuel cans are not symmetrical, so if you put them in one side or another, so I like having the cans together. They also happen to be the best sides of the fuel cans there. So I've got my sticker sets here, both from Toy Hacks, and we're going to start off. I'm just going to reference the photo, and there's two little stickers, one that goes on each of the jerry cans here, the fuel cans. And in the instructions, they actually have them as being pointing in the same direction, but I'm going to do something a little different. So I just have to find the 1 and the 2 on here, and there we go. Make sure they're the right side up. So on the sticker sheet, they're actually end to end, so just make sure that you grab them and put them on in the right order, or the right orientation, I should say. The order doesn't really matter. Let's get my knife out here. Remember, we try to handle the stickers as little as possible. But again, nothing's perfect, right? And I'm trying to release this sticker without damaging the other stickers. There we go. And I'm just taking my thumb and pushing it on there. We've got the sticker off. So the sticker fits in this area right here. So with these smaller parts, it's good to make sure I'm anchoring my forearms on my table here. I think right about there looks good. A little bit of an angle there. So you have to be careful. The clear coat's been allowed to set for about a few days actually. But we always want to be careful because we don't want to have to do any after side touch-ups. And that's a hazard when you're mixing colors. If you write down the ratios, that's fantastic. But sometimes I find even if you do that and the paint's still a little off for whatever reason, it might draw your attention. It might not, nobody else might notice, but it's one of those things where you certainly do notice. And I know that can be frustrating, so get the number 2 on here. So my landmark for this is we landmark our stickers so they try and go in the same spot. You can hold the cans right beside each other if you want, but I basically tried to split the difference and put it right in the middle. And that's one thing, one of my preferences for any of my vehicles, even if I buy vintage stuff just for the collection, not to customize, is that the stickers are placed on nicely. For me, nothing really ruins it more than something that has stickers all over it in the wrong spot. So now I'm just going to sit the cans in the rack here, and I'm going to slide the rack back on very gently. There we go. Now I'm just going to push the hull back on, and there it is. So now our jerry cans are firmly in there with their stickers on, and we can carry on with the rest of the vehicle. All right, now that we're all done, let's do the final reveals here. Here is our mail-away Vamp Mark 1. I've got Footloose and a third-party figure in there, and all the stickers there are set in place in the original spots as the original Vamp Mark 1, and I think that really helps sell the idea that it is indeed a mail-away. I left off the canvas. I kind of sat it on there to see what it looked like. It also looked very cool, but I kind of like the idea of just a bare bones recolored Vamp Mark 1. So there's that, and this is a double reveal. So I also did the same thing to a Skyhawk. It was painted concurrently with the same color mix. Original Skyhawk stickers placed in the same place as the original Skyhawk, and I've got Backblast in there. I just think he looks really good as a pilot for this thing. And that's all there is to it. The only difference or deviation is that I put my usual IFF flag on the bottom, which I tend to do with most of my Skyhawks. So as you can see, we have a very simple project here in that it is a straight recolor. It also qualifies as a partial repaint because the dark gray parts are all untouched, minus the exception of any repairs we did on the Vamp here. And as you can see, the results are good and with minimal effort. I mean, the mixing paint is always a bit of a challenge. But the other thing I ended up trying to is on the Skyhawk. I actually pulled these out. Took a little bit of brute force and ignorance, but there was no damage to the Skyhawk or the cannon, so I will be doing that on all my future Skyhawk projects. And there you have it. You now have two vehicles that look like they were absolutely available as mail-aways from Hasbro. So thanks for joining me in this episode. I want to thank all my subscribers. I appreciate it. And if you're new to the channel, consider giving a like and subscribe. I hope all of your projects are going just as well. And in the meantime, be safe and have fun.